This is my Telecaster. It's in Nashville tuning, which means the top two strings, that's a B and E, as you'd normally get on a guitar, but the E, A, D and G, they're all an octave higher. It's like getting a set of 12-string strings and removing the thicker strings, and with the top two, which are duplicates, just only using one. There are 3 reasons you should have a guitar in Nashville tuning, 2 of which are quite similar. I'm going to go into all 3. I'm just going to give you an example of how it sounds. So this is, in fact, let's hear a normal guitar first, because you haven't heard one before. This is how a normal guitar sounds. And this is how a Nashville tuned guitar sounds. 2 reasons why this is really beneficial. If you're playing live, and there's 2 of you playing a similar guitar part, if one's playing a normal tuned guitar and one's playing Nashville, just sounds so much bigger. So I've got a demonstration on that. Video's coming out tomorrow actually. So me and my mate Steve do a live recording of it, and it really thickens it up, especially if you can't think of 2 different variations of the chords. You can play the same chords, and because one guitar sounds completely like, if you play an E minor, sounds very different to playing an E minor on a normal guitar. Completely different. And those 2 guitars will sit very well in the mix together, because you've got one normal tuning sort of filling up the mid-range. The Nashville will fill up more of the high end. So you have the bass, normal guitar in the middle, and Nashville doing the top bit. It means everyone fits. No one's treading on anyone's toes. Another benefit of this is, in the studio, the same thing applies. I use this as a layer on loads of stuff. The last track I released, the next track I'm about to release, all got Nashville instruments. Loads of songs have it. Free Falling, Tom Petty. Sometimes I go an octave lower with a baritone. May as well show you. This is just a 6-string guitar spaced bass type hybrid weird thing. Fits sometimes, but gets in the way of the bass guitar. But going an octave higher, it just seems to fit in the space a lot easier. So it fills the mix nicely. Just as a side note, a set of these strings, they only cost, sometimes they're about 2 or 3 quid on Amazon, sometimes they're a little bit cheaper than normal strings. They don't cost much, so if you've got a spare guitar sitting around, whack a set of those on it, because if you don't play that guitar, you probably will with Nashville tuning, especially because of the final thing I'm going to tell you. It's just a way of being more creative, because it's tuned differently, but it's still in standard tuning. You know that all your chords will work, but they sound different, so it makes you play differently. So you could write, well, if we go back to that E minor, you'd expect, I'm just going down from the thicker string to the thinner one, so you expect it to go higher in pitch, but it's kind of weird, because when you get to the B and E string, the pitch goes down, and that makes you do things a bit differently. So when you start doing arpeggios, it just sounds that much different, and that can make you be quite creative. You can write things that you wouldn't normally write, and you don't have to learn a new instrument. That is one of the reasons why I love this hybrid guitar bass thing, because you can play the same thing that you would anyway. A normal baritone would be, well, effectively in B probably, or A, depending on how you've tuned it. This one's in standard tuning, E, A, D, G, B, like a guitar. Anyone can pick that up and play it. Doesn't always sit in a mix very well. This, I've never found a time this doesn't sit in a mix, and it's come to the studio with us in a couple of weeks' time. I always take this to the studio. You want another guitar part, whack it on a Nashville instrument. It'll fit in the mix, and it's easy to come up with another guitar part, because if you can't think of anything, you can just duplicate something else you're playing, but it sounds completely different, and I'm telling you now, it will thicken the mix. Like I said, get a set of these. I'll put a link in the description. They're only a few quid. And check out tomorrow's video, because me and my mate Steve, we play 2 different guitars, and we show you different ways of harmonising. So this works live and in the studio. Just so you're not playing exactly the same guitar part twice, which can sound good doubled, but when I double guitars, I like to do something a bit different, just so it thickens the mix. And we do go into Nashville tuning and play a few examples on this. It's just a handy video. If you haven't got any ideas of how to make one of your songs a bit thicker, it's worth checking out. Thanks for watching.